Hello and welcome to another episode of People of Media. And today I get the honor of interviewing Jessica Cline, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Cities West Media, which publishes Phoenix Magazine. And she is also a world traveler. So let's dig in a little bit. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about the world traveler and how you
Oh
gave
gosh.
yourself that name?
Yeah, so this is a really fascinating. I'll keep it brief, but I grew up in a small town in Indiana, and that's it. Small town girls from Indiana, rarely find themselves, at the Four Seasons in Hong Kong or something like that. And so what I did early on in my 20s is I worked for a company. It was a think tank out of DC called the Corporate Executive Board, and I was a meeting planner, marketing and meeting planner there. And, here I am at 24, globetrotting. And, one of my favorite stories is like, having $10 in my checking account, but, I'm like literally at the Four Seasons and, Singapore and, having the most amazing time ever. I love that, so I sort of got the travel bug, in my early 20s, and it just because the position changed doesn't mean that my passion for it has stayed really, really fond of finding new places, meeting new people, and exploring new cultures. It sort of is the one thing that kind of keeps me going in life.
Oh, that gets me so pumped. You said Four Seasons in Hong Kong. Man, I have this huge desire to travel to Asia just because of a bug that I caught when I was in college and I took a course on Asian literature and culture. And I just fell in love with the literature, with haiku and the samurai epics and all this stuff. And I'm like, I gotta go someday. So
It's fascinating, and it's very different. It's a culture of service, which I sort of love, and the idea of like, community comes first before the individual, and
yeah.
things like that. I never really thought about until I was able to travel and see how, the subway systems are nice and clean and orderly. Everyone's doing what they're supposed to do. You know? And I'm like, wow, this is pretty great.
Yeah,
When you're in the subway in Chicago is not the case.
not the same. No. I mean the rats in the subway are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I should say the L in Chicago, not the subway. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm showing show that I don't know what's up. Oh, so good to have you here. I'm probably going to say that multiple times, but so so who are you really? And so what I mean by that is Chief Marketing Officer is the title, but there's probably something beneath that that is what you really do. And so I'm trying to dig for that. So how would you describe who you are and what you really do? Um,
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think I'm a creator of ideas and
yeah.
creator of new experiences, and a creator of new ways to experience a brand, or a company that is new or old and wants to reinvent themselves. That's what really lights me up, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, is
Yeah.
really getting deep and understanding where small businesses, where the personal side of it, of the entrepreneur, and the business side of it, and how deeply interconnected they are, and understanding that personality, and then bringing it to life is kind of something that, like, I could literally cry over every time I feel like I nail it with somebody, and then to watch their business thrive and grow because you've helped them create that identity, and you've helped them create a new pathway of being seen in the community. That's what really gets me excited.
Oh man, we can talk. We might spend the rest of our time. We've only got 20 more minutes, so we might mess around and talk about that for the rest of our time.
Yeah.
Um, because man, that's a beautiful calling. So I'm assuming that in the use case that you're describing, you're talking about clients of a media
hmm
property. right? So we're the small to mid-sized business, even large business, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That are trying to,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, can you apply that to Phoenix Magazine for me a little bit, right? So who in that lens is Phoenix Magazine?
So Phoenix Magazine, first of all, Phoenix is a fascinating place. I mean, it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country right now, and that's amazing. The Phoenix Magazine legacy is long, and I love that. I've worked for companies who are, new, and I've worked for companies who've been acquired, and all over the place. And Phoenix Magazine is one of those things in media that is a complete anomaly because they've been so wildly successful for such a long period of time. And we know the evolution of media is has, it's a thing, right? You either adapt or you go away. I mean, it's just the way it works. And I think Phoenix Magazine has had this incredible um, ability to tell the stories of the people in that community, and then earn the trust of them. So they really go to Phoenix Magazine to understand, the personalities and places and things and food and all of the lifestyle sort of things that the community has to offer. So I think they're incredible storytellers, but I also think that the culture of Phoenix Magazine is probably one of the strongest I've ever seen. When what I mean by that is like, you know, I would say a good 25%, if not 30, and I should probably do the actual math, have been there for like 20 some years. I mean, that's unheard of. It's just
Yeah.
unheard of. And so that fascinates me. And I think, when I first arrived, literally barely 3 months ago to Cities West, it shocked me. I did a one-on-one with everyone in the on the team, and one of the things that I asked them was, what's your favorite thing about your job? What's your favorite thing about the community? And almost everyone said it's the people and it's the ability to have ideas and watch them sort of grow and flourish. And I thought that was really cool. The structure I found fascinating too. They still have a little bit of church and state separation, which a
Yeah.
lot of media companies just have gone away with that completely. and
Yeah.
and I think a little bit of that old school uh, seasoning, if you
Yeah.
will, um, um, on top of brand new marketing concepts and ideas is kind of a winning formula, where I think a lot of media companies have sort of cut into the muscle of their business, where I
Mm.
don't think that they've done that here. And that's not an easy thing to do. I think Brett Wilson is the president, and he is an incredible leader and really leads from positivity, and it's wonderful to see for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Now that phrase you just said arrested me. The idea that many publishers have cut into the muscle of the business. Can you describe what that means? Because that seems significant that you would even put it that way. So what does it mean to cut into the muscle of their business?
I think I think if you have to stop and think about media in general, like what do they do, right? Like what do they do? Um, and they're storytellers, right? They're storytellers. So when you start cutting storytellers and you start devaluing the storytellers, and you start to put the sellers, uh, the value of their revenue,
Hmm.
which is more important than the storytelling. When that happens, I think the organization changes, and I think you kind of lose the um, I think you lose the trust of the public. They don't know that. They don't know that that's what they've done. It's just a little bit of a different feeling. Now, I also understand you have to find a happy medium there.
Yeah.
You have to find the happy medium.
Yeah.
But valuing the storytellers is is really, really important.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. That so I would put that sentiment in the class of a feeling I've heard from a few other people. I think many people within media, and specifically like city regional media,
Hmm.
feel that way. I've specifically heard that sentiment from Logan Aguirre over at 417 Magazine. You know, if you ever get a chance to spend time with her, you two would very much hit it off because the values, you know, and 417 is just such an incredibly prestigious, you know, pound for pound, it's an incredibly strong institution
Hmm.
with so much local credibility. And I've watched Logan make the decision for trust against revenue. Like
Hmm.
when it hurt, I've watched her do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then Liesl Lang in SRQ magazine in Sarasota, um,
Hmm.
just very much thinks the same way. So I'll just throw those two out there, and there's more that, but those are the two that come to mind immediately. Um, but I think you're talking about something so crucial and vital to media's role, and that is so much what I'm trying to do. I'm an outsider, right? In a sense, I'm a
Hmm.
provider. Although I do create my own content, I do have some of my own newsletters. Um, you know, I think about audience and audience development, credibility, and trust. I have to answer those questions on a microcosmic scale for myself. But I do ask that question a lot. Like, what is the essence of media?
Hmm.
Is it? And I think based on what you just said, it's storytelling, right?
Hmm.
Credible, reliable, accurate storytelling.
Hmm.
That's the
And
muscle.
interesting. Yeah, that and interesting. Everybody has a story, and I think a good writer will pull out the gems and highlight that.
Yeah.
And those people should be cherished. To be honest, those are the people that you want to hang on to, and those are sometimes the people that are probably paid in not the best of ways.
Yes.
And I feel like that's the muscle that is part of media. So in a lot of ways, I think in Cities West is doing this. It's fascinating. Is we're launching a marketing agency, which I'm really excited about,
Yeah.
to help small businesses tell their story. It's the same skill set, right? It's just
Yeah.
now you're not focused on the community, you're focused on one particular business. That is
Yeah.
really fascinating and fun. Um, and I love taking uh, old school writers who love the separation of church and state, bringing them onto the marketing side, and you know they hate it at first, and then they begin to love it because it feels so intimate, and it feels
Yeah.
like, wow, they're really making a difference for someone's business because you're telling their story in the most
Yeah.
interesting possible way. um, and revenue through events. I mean, I think that's the key to a media company in this day and age, is like, people really shifted to the digital side of it, but it's really events. And this agency side, I think, is going to be really, really phenomenal, because it's a need that's for small businesses. It's really needed. Small business owners do the
Hmm.
thing that they do best, right? They're not necessarily the best storytellers. So
Right.
how do we do that? And graphic design is very much a part of that as well. So good graphic designers, good storytellers, those are the those are the that's the muscle, if you will.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. So there's some very special things I'm hearing about the way you communicate, right? And the way you embody what you're talking about. So you get hired at Cities West, and the first thing you do is you go interview everybody. Right. You go find out the stories of everybody that you're about to be
Yeah,
working with, right? Talk about
yeah,
practicing what you preach. If story is important, the first thing you do is go
yeah.
check out the stories of the people.
Yeah, thanks for recognizing that, because honestly, I'm not sure that was entirely conscious that I did that. I
Yeah.
just needed to
Yeah.
know from their point of view what is their story, and how does it, wow, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't do
Yeah.
that consciously.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
it's
wanted
so
to hear it from them. Yeah. Yeah.
well, but that's how you know it's bedrock, right? Like this is something bedrock inside of you, inside of the
Hmm.
way that you see the world, and
Hmm.
you're doing it unconsciously, right? Um, and then even saying like, let's approach advertising, marketing, let's approach this as accurately and intimately telling the story of the business and the owner in the way that allows that business to flourish. Ah, that gives me chills. Like that's such a different way to think about advertising.
Yeah, it really, really is. Yeah. But it works, and I've watched it work. And in a past life, I had a great team, and we were working on a bio for a woman who owned a business, and she sent the bio to her mother, and the mother came back and said, "I've never read something that's captured your spirit more." And I was like, I started crying, and then I said I have to take the rest of the afternoon off because like I've got to pull myself together on that one. Because it just was such an amazing moment of wow, we did exactly what we wanted to do. We captured this woman's spirit, and we're turning it into her story about her business and how she's going to accomplish, whatever it is she wants to do. That kind of stuff is really important. It's really, really important to capture the spirit of a business and capture the spirit of the business owner and sort of, merging them together.
You have an incredibly unique perspective on this. And I think it's an important perspective, um, because now you're talking about tying like, it's always been difficult for me to tie like the two sides of the house together because it's like, we tell stories, but we also got to make money. So there's this thing we do over here that's kind of tacked onto the business where we generate revenue from advertising. There's this thing we over here that doesn't lead to directly to revenue usually. And if you're doing it well or not doing it well, it's not necessarily easy to know if that's having direct impact on revenue or you know what I mean? Like it's just, but what you're saying is like, nah, you tie all these aspects to the same beating heart. And right?
That's right.
It's for the people, for your niche community to be seen and known, whether it's the community itself that's not paying for it or whether it's the advertisers who are paying for it, you're doing the same function.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody says nobody says that. You know?
Well, I'm saying it, I'm
Yeah.
saying it because, I've spent the last 15 years or so in media, always in marketing. And I always say, marketing is just the intersection of business and creativity. That's what marketing is. It's literally showing and telling those cool stories, but in the most creative way to capture the best audience for your business that's highly targeted. So, art and business, the intersection is marketing. That's the
Yeah.
way it goes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got 5 more minutes.
Mm, that
So
went fast.
I know it went fast, but it's so good. Like this is really beautiful stuff. So um I can tell talking with you that you would not just work anywhere, right? Like you can't have that perspective that you have and just take whatever job comes along. So there had to
Yeah.
be a deep resonance between you and Cities West and Phoenix
Hmm.
Magazine. So can you
Hmm.
tell a little bit about how that to take us out, tell a little bit how that came about and how you decided this was going to be the place for you to put that gift to work?
So it's a great story, and I'll tell it in a short time. So I, with along with a few partners, owned Marin Living magazine in Marin County, and we put the company for sale. And Cities West was taking a look at it, and and we probably had 10 conversations, and I just fell in love with Brett. I mean, Brett was like such a fascinating character. He was so I loved the way he managed his team. I loved the way the philosophy worked. And he finally came back and said, "Look, it doesn't make sense for us to absorb the business, but we want you." And I was like, "I don't really know how that works, but okay, let's keep exploring it." And then when I met Molly, the CFO,
Mhm.
I was like, "This is it. These are the people that I want to work with for a very long time." They just were so fascinating. Molly's been with the company for like 22 years. I mean, she really just came out of college and worked for them. And I've never seen someone work harder. Sometimes when someone works for a company for a really long time, they're very complacent, they're sort of stuck in their ways. And, and Molly just was the opposite of that. She just was like, oh, I can't wait for new ideas. I can't wait to come up with new fun things. And so I mean, Brett sold it, Molly sealed it, is how I like
Yeah.
to say it.
Yeah.
It's really, to me, it was about uh, chemistry and how do you think about the world and how do you think about this business and how do you think about managing people. Um, that was really important to me. So that's the deal we struck. They didn't buy the business, but they got me instead, and
Yeah.
I was really happy about that for sure.
Uh, Congratulations, and they're very fortunate to have you. I think this is going to have to be part one of two or more. I think I want to explore this more with you later, but everybody, that's Jessica Klein. That's somebody to watch, um, somebody to be moved by. I think, I think there is a, I don't know how to say this, but um, it's awesome to encounter somebody who's operating in their calling.
Mm,
That's just always
mhm,
awesome. You know, like there's job and then there's calling. And you seem, Jessica, to be operating in your calling, and that's going to inspire other people and get us all to look internally and to think, okay, well, what's my calling, right? And how do I
mhm.
angle more in the direction of that? So thank you for the gift, and I wish you a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the time.
All right.